We're going to be testing the top 4 AI coding tools to see which one can build us the best app. We're going to be building an AI logo generator SaaS. Now, I'm going to go ahead and keep this completely fair. We're going to test Replit versus Lovable versus Bolt.new, and also a comparison with Cursor. Now, in order to keep this completely fair, we're going to feed every single one of these tools the exact same product requirement doc for the app that we're trying to build. If you don't know already, a product requirement doc is essentially a highly detailed plan of the app that you're building. It breaks down all of the different features, what you want those features to do, how they integrate, and also the tech stack that you're using for your app. So instead of just endlessly prompting in circles, you can get your app built significantly quicker using a lot less credit. So I'm using CodeSpring to plan out our app for us, and it starts very, very simply. We're going to go ahead and we're just going to write in the app that we're planning. So in this case, we're just doing an AI logo generator. I would just write down all of the different features that I want, how I want the features to work, and any other bits of tech that I want inside this app. So I've already gone ahead and done this, and as you can see, it's already planned out the different features that we want in our app here. It's given us the tech that we need in order to get this built. So for example, I can see I've got 3 different features. We're going to input a brand name, for example. We're going to generate a logo, and we're going to display those logos in some sort of visual way. And I've gone into each of these and I've taken specific notes on how I want it to work. So for example, I can treat this as a massive brain where I'm taking a lot of additional detail and notes on what it is I'm trying to build. This becomes incredibly useful when you're building using these tools here, because a lot of the time when you're prompting every single message that you send to the AI, it's kind of like having a brand new employee in your business that doesn't really understand what it is that you're trying to do, so you have to re-explain your project in every single message. So by creating these documents and creating this sort of brain of all the features and how they work, we're able to continually provide context to the AI of what our app is, which is going to save us so much hassle down the line. Now I have to admit to you guys, I have actually cheated slightly. I have already built this app inside Cursor, as you can see here. Now if you want to see a more detailed view of how I managed to do this, we've already filmed a 15-minute tutorial breaking down how to use Cursor to create and fully deploy this logo generator app. Just go onto the CodeSpring app YouTube channel and it will show you how to use this product requirement doc here and build it entirely using Cursor. I wanted to dedicate that build to a specific video because Cursor, in my opinion, is the best app out of all of these that you could possibly use to get started building. But with that in mind, I'm going to use this section here to kind of explain to you how Cursor works. Then we're going to go ahead and test this exact prompt with all of the other tools. So the first thing you'll see inside Cursor is it can be incredibly daunting, and this really does highlight whichever app you're using is very much up to personal preference. Using documentations like this will work with any app that you're building. But if we come into Cursor, the really cool thing is we have a lot more control over the files that are created and the code that is generated. So on the right hand side, you can see here we have a chat, and it's very much the same as what we have inside Replit. We have a chat to describe what it is we're building, the same with Lovable, and also the same with Bolt. We just have it up here on the right hand side. But you'll notice there's this little file called Project Plan. And that is that project requirement doc that we generated using CodeSpring. And in fact, you can see here, we've got it all written down. And basically, it's going to explain everything that we need in our app. But the really cool thing is, in Cursor, you can set this to appear with every single message that we send, which basically means every single time I send a message to the AI, it has full context on the app that we are building. So I'm actually going to go back to the very first message that I sent in order to build this project. And I literally just wrote the words, build me the project plan. I gave it a little bit of a prompt about what it was that I was trying to build, and then it went ahead and it created all the files for us. And this is the power of having some sort of document in order to get started with our builds. If we didn't have this, we would have to send multiple messages explaining what files we wanted to create and how the code needs to be written in all of these. And that can be very difficult if you're a complete beginner and you've never built an app before, which is why using documents like this makes it so much easier. So you can see all of this stuff here basically shows us it's created a toolbar. I'm going to go onto the app here so you can see what I mean. So this thing down here is the toolbar. It's created the logo canvas, which is this whole thing here that you see with all these dots. It's gone ahead and it's created the page for us, which is obviously this page up here. Then all I've done is I've given it the project plan over again, and I've said, now can you start to build me the features for this app? And again, all of the information on how to build these features and what these features do is contained inside the project plan. So you can see just with Cursor we can just go through in a very methodical way, gradually building up our app. And it's a very simplistic way of building, and it makes it a lot more controllable because we can see which files are being created and we have a lot more control over it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the initial prompt that we used inside Cursor and we're going to come directly into Replit. We're going to paste it into Replit. we're going to paste it into Lovable, and we're going to paste the exact same thing into Bolt. Then what we're going to do is actually go to the product requirement doc inside our CodeSpring account. If you guys want to get access to CodeSpring and you want to learn how to use it to build apps, we're doing a live demonstration of how to use this tool to build any app with AI. There's a whole load of courses inside CodeSpring and also some boilerplates as well that you can use to get started. So if you want to come along to that, the link is down below in the description. Then all we're going to do is we're going to just paste in the product requirement doc inside each of these prompts. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to say product. Actually, we're just going to write PRD, okay? And we're going to paste it like that. And then we're going to come into Lovable, and we're going to come down to here. We're going to paste it like that. And we're going to come into bolt.new, and we're going to say PRD, and we're going to paste it like that. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to send the message through on each of these. It looks like Replit has created a plan for us. I'm just going to go ahead and approve the plan for that and let it get started. If we come into Lovable, so it looks like Lovable is still spinning it up. We come into Bolt, and it's still going ahead and it's creating all of the components. One thing that I can see with Bolt is it's actually using a slightly outdated method. So it's using SRC, which I wouldn't really use if it was me building it. Replit looks like it's actually building things pretty quickly. It's already coming up with some really cool. We've got the ability to enter our brand name, we've got the style preference, we can go ahead and generate a logo. Cool. We can actually supposedly zoom in, recent generations down here, download, and then obviously regenerate. Now it doesn't look like we've got an area to actually input our prompt for the logo yet, but you can see how this design here actually closely matches this design here, right? And that all comes down to having those requirement docs. So if we actually go into Lovable, it looks like we've run into some errors over here. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to copy those errors, we're going to paste those in, and then again we're just going to say please fix. And this is a really cool thing, right, with Cursor, because every single time I send a message in Cursor, if I come back to here, you can see it's always including that project plan in every single one of my messages. But in this case, if I come into Lovable, I'm going to have to paste in the project plan again, which is a little bit annoying. So we're going to get that to fix that error. And it looks like Bolt has already whipped something up for us. Now, I'm not sure about the UI of Bolt, so we can add text. I'm not sure what that means. We can add a shape, primary color, enter our brand name, generate logo. Let's see if that works. Logo generated successfully, but I can't see anything that it's actually generated. It seems to have completely misunderstood the fact that we're going to be using AI to generate the logos. It looks like Lovable is still trying to install some other bits and pieces. This is taking a little bit longer than I was kind of hoping. Replit, by the looks of it, has actually created the best one so far. If we come into the logo generator built with Cursor, we didn't have to worry about setting up our entire project, because inside CodeSpring, if we come into the course and the assets, we have this boilerplate starter template, okay? And if we actually come into the Cursor files here, we actually collapse all of this stuff. This is something that comes directly with a CodeSpring subscription, but if you come into the database file, we have already got the schema and all of this stuff set up, which basically, for those of you guys who don't understand, this is basically the database, and this is all the stuff that's needed in order to create accounts for users, and then also manage the database and integrate all of that stuff. You can see we've already got stuff for payments, so payments are already set up and integrated for both Stripe and also for What, and then obviously we've got all of the files already set up, so we have different pages inside our app, right? So all of these different pages here that you see down on the left hand side, all of this stuff has already been pre-coded for us inside the CodeSpring boilerplate, which basically means we can actually just clone this very, very quickly, and then we can have our app up and running straight away without having any difficulties. Whereas obviously tools like Replit, Lovable, Bolt, all of that, every single time we build, it has to go ahead and build out all of this stuff for us, because you can see there's no way for us to actually log in and create an account. So if we want to actually have a database here, it's very difficult to get that all set up with each of these platforms. Now, I'm not really sure what's going on with Lovable at the moment. It looks like I'm just going to click on try to fix that error, see if that fixes it. I'm just going to come into Bolt now, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at the second message that we ever sent in Cursor. So we're going to copy that message, we're going to send that through, and we're going to copy the project plan again. This is the same one that was generated in CodeSpring, so project plan. And then I'm just going to write a little bit thing down here saying, don't forget, we're generating the images using AI, okay? I'm not really sure what's going on with Bolt, to be honest with you. So Lovable's actually created us this sort of React flow thing where we can actually input the name of our app, which is pretty cool. And that's exactly the same thing that we've got going on here inside the one built with Cursor. So this is currently generating the image using AI. It looks like Lovable's actually doing quite a good job in generating that for us. So now what we're going to do is, it's got the brand name up here, which is going to say test, generate logo. It says creating logo. This may take a few moments. generated some sort of logo. This is a little bit confusing, but you can see it is getting there. We can presumably download it and customize it. I'm just going to copy the next message again from here, and we're going to come into this, and we're going to say, again, this is taking our prompt and generating it with, I'm going to send that through. Looks like Bolt is really struggling at the moment in actually getting this built. Okay, so we're going to have to actually integrate this directly into Supabase in order to get this integration set up. I'm just going to tell it here, I don't want a database. Can we not use APIs or server action? And this is the one thing that I'm not a fan of with using tools like Lovable, is you don't have control over the back end, right? I don't think I can actually see the code. Yeah, I mean, I love the UI, so I can actually click on individual things and I can edit those different things, but I can't actually go in and see the specific code, which is a little bit annoying. I'd like to be able to do that. And this is like part of the problem with building with tools like Lovable, is you don't really have the control. So Replit looks like we actually do have the control to add the API keys. Now this is really useful because if I come into the agent, I can actually tag, or I could say, for example, this specific file here, I want to go ahead and make some sort of change. So I could copy the path and I could say, make me a change to this file. And this kind of gives us a little bit of control, like what we can do inside Cursor, where we could tag, for example, I don't know, like the image node, and we could tell it to make some sort of visual change to that file. And the benefit of using tools like Cursor is you get an understanding of what the files do and how they all go together, right? And you can see me running into issues here where I'm talking to Lovable and I'm trying to add in functionality and features. If I can't see the code and I don't understand how it all goes together, I'm finding it very hard to figure out how to add specific features in order to get the app built, right? Whereas obviously with Cursor, I know where all the files are. I can then go ahead and I can say, make a change to this file. So in here, for example, I've got this logo generator action, and I know all of the functionality in generating the logos is inside this specific function. Okay, I can see that. I don't need to understand what the code is, but I can see that I'm using GPT-4o Mini, and I have a lot more control over the app that I'm building. Whereas with tools like Lovable, it's great for building UI, and eventually obviously you can build back-end stuff, but it's not ideal. Bolt, again, is just running into endless problems. Not really sure about it. Now again, with Bolt you can actually come in and you can see the individual files as well. The other thing I would say is I'm not really a massive fan of the way it's organised these files into an SRC folder. This is a little bit, seems outdated to me. You can see inside this app we've got inside of Cursor, using the template from CodeSpring, is we're actually using the app router. So we have like all the APIs in here, we have the actions like this, we have the components like this, versus having everything set up inside the SRC folder like this, which I'm just not really a massive fan of. Yeah, this is a problem with Lovable. Like, it's a front-end only framework, right? It can't run back-end code. However, if you want to build a front-end service that handles OpenAI API calls directly from the browser, here are your options. API input component. I don't want to have this. This is the thing, is like, in order to create some sort of OpenAI integration, I don't want users to be able to put in their own API key, because if they do that, then I've got security problems, and it's also just a massive headache because most people don't know how to find an API key. External backend. So, I mean, somebody tell me in the comments, I don't really use Lovable, but it looks like we sort of hit like a brick wall here. Now, we probably could integrate into Supabase. They have functions, but I don't know if we can actually build like a backend API inside that and integrate. Let me know in the comments down below if you've tried anything like that. I don't see the point in it. So we kind of hit a brick wall with what we can do here with Lovable for now. So Replit, again, we're just running into problems. We can just fix this and we can say, is the AI generated image working? This is the other thing to realize, right? If you're a complete beginner and you've never built before, the stuff that I'm talking about here, right? So in order to get it to work, I have to be able to tell it stuff that I must know first, right? And if I was using the CodeSpring boilerplate, right, I already have the environment variables already created for me. Like, I have the files here. I can't show you, but I have the files here with all my API keys that I can just add in. And if I wanted to, I could just go to the chat and I could say, how do OpenAI integration into this app, right? And then I could just come to here, we could go to ask, we could change this to, we could choose a different language model, and then we can send that through. And what it's going to do is it's going to understand the complete file structure, and it'll probably tell us that we need to add the API key to the environment variables file. So while that's loading, we're going to come to Replit, and we're going to see, so enter our brand name, so test, style preference, description, AI image for a chatbot, and then generate logo. AI is crafting perfect design for your brand. So it looks like we might be able to actually get this working with Replit, because we did give them the API key. Lovable, we've hit a brick wall. Bolt, I have absolutely no idea what's going on with Bolt, but again, really not a fan of the UI. Like, none of this makes any sense. This UI is really, really bad. It's not following any of the instructions. If we come back to our CodeSpring project, right, and we actually go into the plan, you can see, I think it's here, we explained that we wanted to have a toolbar right, at the bottom of the canvas where we have an input form, like what we can see here. So Cursor did a much better job. It put the input bar at the bottom of the canvas, and then I said here we'll have a React Flow canvas in the dashboard with a subtle grid layout. Right, we're going to have the images in there. I said we'd have a 2x2 grid to show 4 variations, and again, like, Cursor's done exactly what I wanted it to do. Bolt's just come up with something completely random. Lovable's created the canvas. That's done a fairly good job with that. And there we go. So you can see Rep has actually created it. So you can see it's basically created. The UI is slightly different, right? We can't, drag these around, but not that you would need to. If we wanted to, we can actually go ahead and actually download these. It doesn't download them directly to our computer, but that's probably just because of the way this is created. So Replit's done a pretty good job following the initial instructions from CodeSpring. Lovable hasn't really worked, Bolt hasn't really worked, and Cursor is obviously the best one. But you can see here, based on what I said earlier, it's given us a detailed breakdown on how we would actually go ahead and set these things up, right? It says make sure you have your API key in your environment variables set up, and then I could say, where do I save my variables, right? And this is the benefit of Cursor as well, as you can literally ask it questions, so you can learn as you're going without actually getting it to write any code for us. So it's found the file, and it's explained how this file works in terms of generating the images, so I can come into here and I can see, okay, this logo generator is the thing that generates the logos, right? And now, by creating and by using all of this stuff, and you can see here, like, okay, you want to go to create your .env.local, right, which is what I said earlier, which is this file here, okay, which I can't show you, but if I click into it, I'll expose my keys, but you can learn a lot more by using Cursor. So that breaks it down a little bit. Hopefully you guys understand now a little bit more about the different tools and the limitations of each of these tools and which ones are the best. Like I said at the beginning, if you want to learn a little bit more about how to use tools like CodeSpring to actually build your first app using product requirement docs, inside CodeSpring, like you can see here, I can create a full plan, and then from that plan I can go ahead and give it to whichever tool that I want. Inside here we have all of the product requirement docs for all the different tools that we're building, and there's a full course showing us how to actually use Cursor, and we have obviously got the full template as well for any app that we're building. We also have a tool to help you actually market your app as well, so you can, once you've built your app, right, you can actually go ahead and create carousel slides. All of this, it will do market research for you as well, so you can do the marketing for your app. So it's basically an all-in-one sort of helper to help you build and get like your AI building co-pilot. So if you want to get access to CodeSpring and learn how to use it, if you click the link down below this video, I'm doing a live demonstration where I'm going to show you how to use this app, which tools you need to be using to build using AI, how to generate recipes and product requirement docs to build your apps using AI, and also how to find ideas and validate them using AI. So you can get your first AI app built and launched.